There's only 1 week until the final exam, which decides if I can work as a pharmacist, so join me as I cram while romanticising the process along the way. Today was my first day on study leave, so I won't be at work for the next couple days until after my exam. So I started the morning by doing an hour or two of studying, then I went to the shop to buy some things for breakfast. So I spent an hour or two going over this PDF I had with all the high risk drugs that I need to know for the exam. And I did some highlighting and writing notes and also looking at other resources to make sure I understood it properly. I didn't get to do too much studying today because it was actually my friend's birthday. So after this, I got dressed up and we went out for birthday dinner to celebrate. This morning, I decided to start with a mock exam to see where I was before the exam. So I just rubbed out the answers from the last mock exam I did so I could use that as a template. And I started doing that. I had the mock exam up on my laptop and I just wrote the answers in on my iPad so I could correct them later. I really like using mock exams as a revision method because it's the best way to know how much of the information you're taking in. Like yesterday, I did a lot of reading and highlighting, so hopefully that information actually stuck. And when those questions come up in this mock exam, I'll actually be able to answer them. And I think it did help. Sometimes reading and highlighting isn't really the most effective way to study, but I like doing it first and then using practice questions or past papers to see if the information really stuck. And I did do pretty well in this mock paper, so I think it worked. Since I'm not at work for the rest of the week, I will be studying at home or in the library or in cafes. Right now, I'm at home. I didn't feel like going out, and I felt motivated enough to actually study at home. But on days that I don't feel as motivated and I don't trust myself to do the work, if I stay at home, I will go to a library, or go to a cafe because I feel a lot more motivated there and there's less distractions. When I'm at home, I'm always tempted to just stay in bed and rot and scroll or watch TV shows or YouTube. So yeah, it depends on how I'm feeling on the day, but I know myself well enough to decide whether or not I can stay at home or if I should go to a cafe or a library.
Will be ending the engine taxle. But yeah, this is my mitomycin.
What I like to do after completing a mock paper and marking it is to go back over it and write down the rationale for each of the questions and the answers if I didn't understand it or if I didn't get it right. I actually quite enjoy doing this, so it definitely made studying easier. It's always easier to study when you enjoy what you're doing. Also, because the exam is so close, I kept on adding things to my to do list, so topics that I need to cover before the exam. So that's what I was doing there. But yeah, I just like going over the questions because a lot of the same questions will come up again in future mock papers and also in the actual exam. So I think it's important to understand the rationale behind the answers. And I might use the MEP, for example, or the BNF or other resources that I have to make sure that I understand it and to do some extra reading if I need to know a little bit more about the topic. I took a break for lunch and then I didn't really feel like going back to studying, so I just wanted to stay in bed. But I managed to get myself up and I decided to just do some studying in bed. Normally, that is a bit risky because I tend to just like get lower and lower until I'm lying down and on my phone. But this time I actually did quite a lot of work, and yeah, it was nice to just be all cozy in my bed with my blanket wrapped around me. I switched to watching lecture videos on some of the topics that I haven't covered yet. There's still a couple low weight and medium weight topics that I've not covered, which isn't great, but I'm trying to prioritize the ones that come up the most in mock papers. When it gets close to the exam, it really is just about prioritizing and putting the most important tasks first. You can't possibly cover everything, so you need to cover the things that are most likely to come up in the exam, and you can get a good idea of what those topics are by doing mock papers. I continued on the next day covering more of the topics that I haven't really gone over before. I started off just going through the lecture video and making some notes and writing it down in a way that made sense to me. Yeah, I think I do take in a lot of information this way, but I need to be focused. I can tell when I'm just daydreaming and writing things down for the sake of it, so I know how to keep myself accountable. I then went back to going over the mock exam that I did. The GPC exam is 120 questions, so it takes quite a while to go through every single question. So I tend to do this over a couple days. Yeah, so I was about halfway through, so I just kept going and writing down notes for the questions that I didn't understand.
What are some of the drugs?
Then
Discuss
I tuned into another revision
the
session with
folates.
Revised Pharma.
As we said, it's nephro Toxic.
I have not done long multiplication since I was probably in primary school, so I kind of forgot how to do it. And in the GPHD exam, the paper 2 is a clinical part, but there can be calculations and you don't have a calculator. So just in case one or two questions come up, I decided to go over long multiplication. It comes back pretty quickly, so I didn't spend too long on it, but just wanted to make sure. I took a quick break and then changed locations. I think changing up location does help to keep me interested because it's pretty easy to get bored when you're studying for long hours. So that's a tip that I would recommend for anyone who needs to study for an exam or just in general. Try and make it interesting, try and vary the places you study, try and change up the materials you use and what exactly it is you're doing because it can get pretty boring. So if you make it interesting for yourself, you're more likely to enjoy the process and actually study more and stay engaged with it. Here I've gone back to going through the PDF with the high risk drugs, and what I'm doing is just reading through it and testing to see how much I actually remembered. So I would just get up the sticky note on GoodNotes, the app I'm using is GoodNotes. I would get up a sticky note, cover up the text, and then just write down as much as I could remember from memory and fill in the blanks. So this was pretty good for me to see if I was actually taking in what I had read. To finish off, I decided to do some calculations, but that's pretty much it for the final exam study vlog. I did do a bit more studying on Sunday, but I didn't film it because the exam stress had kicked in. And then Tuesday was my exam, and I've since had my results and I passed. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you soon.